Hey everyone, and welcome back to Timeless. Today we're going to be taking a look at Greenwire's Rank 1 Birthing Ritual deck. I've been playing this deck a bunch too, and it's really strong. I have something like a 75% ladder win rate with it. Greenwire had like a 90% win rate for his crazy run to Rank 1. And let's talk about this deck and how it's putting Midrange back on the menu, even in this post-Chrome Mox world where a combo is absolutely dominating the format. So this is a Birthing Ritual deck first and foremost, and we have finally reached the maximum level of Dollmaker abuse to make Birthing Ritual like truly an insane card rather than just an iffy include in the deck. Birthing Ritual, by far and away, is the best card in the deck. If you have it in play, you are going to win the game eventually. It is really just that strong, and one of the great parts of Chromox is that you can even just jam a turn 1 Birthing Ritual around counter magic if you really want. So how does this deck win so consistently off of the Birthing Ritual? Part of it has to do with the one other Aether Drift card that this deck ended up playing, which is Bright Glass Gearhulk. That's a tough one to say. The Gearhulk over here is not an amazing card to be casting for 4 mana. We're generally not doing that. That's why it's only 2 copies in the deck. But once you have Birthing Ritual in play for a few turns, eventually you will find one of these copies and it will search up some 1-drops out of your deck. The 1-drop you search up is almost always going to be Guide of Souls plus Ocelot Pride to get yourself snowballing, but you have the ability to also search up a Chromox for mana, Deathrite Shaman for mana, or any of your sideboard cards, which is really interesting. Dedicated Dollmaker does go a special kind of crazy with cards like Gearhulk or cards like Ocelot Pride. If you Dollmaker copy up the Gearhulk, that's essentially draw 2 cards, and you're going to be drawing 2 very good cards. If you Dollmaker copy up an Ocelot Pride after you've gained life, the Ocelot Pride is going to copy itself with its last line of text there. If you have the City's Blessing for each token you control that entered this turn, create a token that is a copy of it. Multiple Ocelot Prides copy tokens exponentially, if you didn't know that. So you get a doubling, then a quadrupling, then an octupling, etc. So if you manage to duplicate up your Ocelot Prides with Dollmakers and then start making more tokens, this deck completely snowballs out of control and it smothers any other fair deck in the format. Like playing Mardu Energy against this feels pretty hopeless if your opponent actually sticks a Birthing Ritual and starts doing their thing. It goes crazy. You can hit the token cap playing with this deck if you didn't know. If you have 256 game objects in play, the game will not make any more. It's known as the token cap to most people, because the only way to really get there is by making a bunch of tokens, and you can make enough little cat tokens to actually hit that. Usually people will concede way before you get there, but that also means, 200 plus life off of Guide of Souls, so most decks won't actually be able to kill you at that point. Dollmaker is also very strong with the rest of the deck. We've seen Dollmaker Bailmerk in this format a bunch. We've seen Dollmaker Rallier, which goes really crazy hard. Rallier returns Dollmaker, Dollmaker copies up the Rallier, Rallier returns something else, and then if you have an Ocelot Pride in play, you can copy up your Rallier token and then return something else from your graveyard. If you have multiple Dollmakers in your graveyard, you get to chain them. It's very strong. This deck also just gets to play all of the really good mid-range cards that I didn't mention so far. Plays Juggernaut Peddler, which is the best discard spell in the format right now. Exile Discard, which is very relevant in this meta. You can also play the Juggernaut Peddler on turn 1 off of Chromox. You play Deathrite Shaman, which is the best mana dork ever printed. We play 4 copies of Solitude here as a good way to have free interaction, but also it's something that you could Birthing Ritual into, or if you play your Solitude, Birthing Ritual can sacrifice the Solitude and get yourself something like a Gearhulk so that you can keep going off. This deck is mean, deck is nasty. Other than that, we got the 1 copy of Bowmasters in the main deck. Bowmasters has fallen off a little bit, but it's still good against some decks, so that's why we have 1 copy, just so we can fish for it with Birthing Ritual for the matchups where it is good. So as a mid-range deck with Birthing Ritual in it, like I said, this smothers any sort of fair decks, right? It will absolutely destroy Mardu Energy, which is just a Luris deck. If you're playing against a control deck and you stick this card, you're going to overwhelm them eventually. But what it's going to struggle against is combo, especially those Belcher decks that are just going to win before you get to do your thing. That's why in the sideboard, we're packing 4 Deafening Silence. Bright Glass Gearhulk, I'm never going to be able to say that right, can also get copies of it, but oftentimes it's a little too late by the time this hits play, right? This is hitting play turn 4 at the earliest, realistically. Birthing Ritual, Rallier on 3. I mean, I guess with a Chrome box, maybe you could do it a whole turn earlier, but that's not quick enough to beat a Belcher deck. So you're hoping to mulligan to this card, and having 4 copies of White Orchid Phantom in your deck to hit with Birthing Ritual will make sure that the Belcher deck cannot recover after they start stumbling. Deafening Silence also good against, the Jetstorm deck that we saw and all sorts of unfair decks in the format right now. Like Deafening Silence is an I win card against a lot of these decks. Of course, these decks can bring cards to destroy, right? They're going to be packing their artifact and enchantment destruction. But that's fine. We're just looking to knock them off their game for a couple turns, and hopefully we can kill them with combat damage in that time. We also have Archon of Emeria here as another copy of Deafening Silence. So we have 6 of this effect. This one could be hit with Birthing Ritual, which is really, really strong. So we're going to have a lot of cards sideboarded in for those unfair matchups. So we're going to look to like completely cut cards like Guide of Souls, because we're not really going to be needing to gain the life. We're going to copy or cut most of our copies of Solitude, and then cut a couple of other cards that are not good against that specific deck. And then we have another couple of silver bullets that we can grab off of the Gear Hulk here. That's what I really love about Gear Hulk, is that if you want Pithing Needle in your sideboard, it can grab the Pithing Needle. So instead of having 2 copies of Pithing Needle, we pretty much have 4. And Birthing Ritual helps us find them, which is awesome. Same with Static Prison. Static Prison is really strong to the point where I like kind of want to main deck it, just because it's really useful to be able to grab a Static Prison off of your Gear Hulk. But it's not good in every single matchup, so it can stay in the sideboard for now. And then we have a Tormod's Crypt as just a quick little 0 mana graveyard interaction that we can grab off of our Gear Hulk for when it's needed. I think that's it in terms of the deck tech. Let's go ahead and get to the gameplay. Right, game 1, we're going to be on the play against Sanral. I know our rank's really, really high, but I've been playing the Jetstorm deck, not this lately, so don't get it twisted. But this deck is still really strong, and obviously can get you to the rank 1, as we saw. This is not going to be a keep, unfortunately. 1 mana source isn't quite enough to make this work. However, if I had just 1 land to accompany this Chrome Mox, I would absolutely be keeping this hand, slamming a turn 1 Peddler and a turn 2 Ritual. Alright, over here, sweet. We do have a Chrome Mox. I'm just thinking about how I want to sequence this. We can do something like put the Baelmerk under the Chrome Mox. Yeah, I like that. So here's how it's going to go. Baelmerk under the Chrome Mox. Turn 1 Birthing Ritual, playing the land. In turn 2, we play a fresh land, crack it, Renegade Rallier. I kind of do want to play the Baelmerk as a spell, though. But such is the price of getting your best card into play guaranteed, right? Alright, so like we said, Chrome Mox. We're going to imprint Baelmerk here. My opponent does get priority here, which is interesting. So they could have a card like Solitude in their deck, or even a free spell like Commandeer, so we'll have to see. I wonder what they have. So this Birthing Ritual is obviously going to do nothing on our first turn, but the main thing I'm concerned about is resolving it more than anything. It might be a mirror if they're leading with this land, right? Because they could have definitely had Solitude in their opener. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm going to guess it's a mirror match. It's a cool way to start it. Another Chrome Mox is pretty much a dead draw, unfortunately. That's fine. We just need to get white mana here. I think we can grab a basic and be a little safe in terms of life loss. So our opponent might be beating us down. And then we'll get that Windswept Teeth back. Yeah, they're going to Solitude my Rallier so that I can't go off. It's smart by them. Okay, and then we're just going to pass. We're going to Surveil here to make sure that we can actually hit a creature. Alright, Baelmerk hits play, so our opponent gets to go fishing. They can buy back Solitude if they want, but I think Ocelot Pride's probably what they grab, right? They can start getting the snowball going. Both are fine choices. Alright. I'll go ahead and Surveil here. Hopefully we hit something good. Dollmaker? I think I'm going to take it. It's not the best card. We definitely could hit better ones, but I think I want to just guarantee that I can get a creature into play and start going. And I think what we could do here is we might want to just flicker one of their things to turn it into a token. It won't get copied by their Pride because they won't have enough permanence in play, obviously. They're not getting life this turn, but it will prevent them from, like, recurring it. Right, because it's exiled now. It can't actually hit the graveyard. Alright, so we can have a Peddler. Peddler would allow us to take their Ocelot Pride so they don't get to go off. I think that's probably the best card we can grab here. There's also consideration to grab Guide of Souls. If we had something to flicker, we would definitely grab Dollmaker. Oh, they got 2. Well, these cards go multiplicatively with each other, right? So, good to exile them, honestly. Right. Oh, that's a good draw. Unfortunately for us, we don't have 5 mana. We only have 4. And this Chrome Mox can't quite get us there. But what's awesome is we get to go fishing with the Bailmerk. And at the very least, we're going to buy back a Dollmaker, which is a good card. Good enough to flicker the Bailmerk, right? So I think we're doing great. Our opponent, unfortunately, messed up their tapping. They should have kept green mana up so that they could hit the Dollmaker here. They would have to hit the Dollmaker before the trigger, but it was already in the graveyard. So a bit of a frustrating moment for our opponent. I think Auto Tapper did that to them. They didn't do it intentionally. Alright, and then we could start getting Guide Pride together. I would take the Gearhulk if we could cast it, but this is a black-only Chrome Mox right here. So I think we're just going to take Ocelot Pride, because that card's very messed up in the deck. And then, am I cool if this Juggernaut Peddler trades? No, we'll keep it for now, because I'm most likely to sacrifice it to Birthing Ritual. Right. Ooh, Gearhulk. We cannot get that into play unless we sacrifice our Merc. So let's ask the question. Gearhulk or Merc? Actually, I'm kind of down for a Gearhulk. Otherwise, what's our option? Another Dollmaker. Dollmaker can flicker Peddler. It doesn't really get us anywhere. Deathrite Shaman is also pretty mid. I think I'm going to get the Gearhulk, and then I'm just going to tutor up Guide Pride so that we can start going exponential. Kind of weird to sacrifice our best creature, but like this is worth it. All right, one Guide and another Pride, please. And then we'd love to draw a white source so that we can actually play all 3 of them. Yeah, they're just going to scoop to that. Like, it's an insanely powerful interaction. I'd love to show it in the video. But what was going to happen is we were going to go to our end step. We were going to have 2 Pride triggers on the stack. 2 copy tokens and then double copy, which is really triple. And going exponentially. So if we found another Dollmaker or found like a Renegade Rallier to buy back this Dollmaker, then we would make as many tokens as we wanted. It's insane. So in the mirror match, I think we're just going to bring in like 1 Static Prison, just so that we have some nice removal. Maybe 2. 2 Static Prison could be pretty cool. What would be our second cut then? Because I do like all of our creatures. I do like having the passive Graveyard Hate here. I do love the Gearhulk. Going second, we could do something like cut an MDFC. I'm a big fan of cutting lands on the draw for math reasons. Witch Enchanter is actually pretty good to have. It hits my opponent's best card, right? Also, it's Bailmerk. So instead of that, I think I'm actually just going to go ahead and cut 1 fetch land. And then on the play, we'll put our land back in and we'll take the Static Prison out. All right, my opponent's going first. This is a pretty good hand. Turn 1 Guide of Souls into probably a Bailmerk, but I might decide to interact instead. I'll think about it. It's good that we have the option to do whatever. All right, and then we can also Emergency Solitude here, so I might actually want to keep Peddler in my hand for Solitude. That's an Ocelot Pride. You got it, buddy. Ocelot Pride is such a scary card. Like, it's legit worth solituding. It's crazy how messed up it is. I'm just going to fetch Blackblade here. Guide of Souls. And then we're just going to do like the classic Bailmerk into Dollmaker. We're keeping Peddler just to pitch to Solitude at this point. All right, what we got here? A White Orchid Phantom. All right, I wasn't expecting that for the mirror. I do have 2 basics, so it's not the end of the world. I accept. If they have multiple of these, it can be a little bit of a problem, but I do have basics. All right, we're chilling. We are chilling. Oh, my best card. But would I rather do the Birthing Ritual thing? Here's the thing. We're going to do Peddler this turn, or excuse me, Overlord this turn. Why? Because I don't know if my opponent has more land destruction. If they do, they can cut me off black, but they can't cut me off green. So I need to get our black spell down early. This other black spell we can pitch to Solitude, so we don't have to worry too much about it. Renegade Rallier is a sweet card to hit. Ocelot Pride is even better, though, so we're just going to take it, I think. Just for mana efficiency's sake. Next turn, I think we're just playing Portico plus Flicker the Bailmerk. Hopefully we draw a land so that I can also just get an Ocelot Pride in. Or maybe we can filibuster a little bit and wait until we have City's Blessing for making the Bale Merc token. Though that might be getting a little too cute. Okay, Solitude for Guide of Souls. We'll take it. I think I'm going to counter Solitude their Pride, to be honest. Okay. That thing dies, you got it. Yeah, I think I counter Solitude that, because one of their ways back into the game is this card snowballing. It's not close to snowballing yet, but I really do think we're in the driver's seat if my opponent doesn't do anything too crazy. They could play another Pride and they would have a life gain trigger, of course, but at least they wouldn't be going exponential and working towards the City's Blessing. Oh, look at that, more land destruction. I knew it. I called it, guys. So now we get to play our Birthing Ritual. We did get cut off of black. Alright, neat. Okay. I'm just going to play Dollmaker and Surveil here. Give me this. Okay, another Ocelot Pride, please, sir. We can also... Ooh. Also take a Solitude. I do like Solitude, but then I would have to pitch away my Pride. I'm not a fan of doing that. So I think I'm just gonna... I always just buy back another Pride next turn, right? So let's take Emergency Solitude. It's for emergencies only. Such as them trying to flicker... Well, they can't flicker this again with Dollmaker. There are emergencies, alright, guys? And I would play it under one of them. Pride is just a messed up good card. I think we can keep it on top. It's really just the best card in the deck somehow. Okay, my opponent's gonna scoop it up. That's fine. I guess they were stuck on mana for a little bit, and they didn't know about the Birthing Ritual in my hand, but we were like guaranteed to, at minimum next turn, play Birthing Ritual plus double Ocelot Pride. I was going to get an attack with Overlord too, so if I hit something like Guide of Souls on that attack, then we would have went insane. But yeah, nice to start off the video with a mirror match win. Alright, game 2. We have the best card in our deck in our hand, and we will hopefully be able to attack with a 1-drop and have it not be blocked. If my opponent is on some unfair nonsense, we can peddle them. So hopefully this works out. Again, on the draw in a Dark Ritual format, it's always a little scary though. It is very possible that my opponent just trivializes my Juggernaut Peddler here. Ooh, we could even turn 1 them. Do I want to do that? Do I need to get this Birthing Ritual resolved right now? If we Chrome Mox and print Witch Enchanter, we could then just play Basic Forest. Actually, I don't want to play Basic Forest because I have non-green spells to resolve next turn. But then we would go ahead and like fetch something like green-black, and then play Birthing Ritual on turn 1. I like that idea. Because my opponent's probably a mana drain deck, seeing Flooded Strand here. Let's see if we can resolve our best card around counter magic. And then next turn we'll present 2 threats, and my opponent will have to answer both of them to prevent me from doing my thing. And we had to fetch this land so that next turn we can play basic plains, and then we can have white, white, black. Alright, let's see what they're up to. Is this Fair Control, or is it like Show and Tell Gaming? It might be Esper. Ooh, Emperor of Bones. Oh, that's cool. So it's probably a Psychic Frog Oculus kind of deal. Interesting. I think I want to take a look with Peddler. Though getting Guide Pride down is tempting, but we're not close to the City's Blessing, so I think we're going to go ahead and do Guide Peddler here. I really want to take a look, just because I don't know what they're on. They could have like a crazy combo with Emperor of the Bones. Especially since I don't see Luris. They probably do have something crazy like Ulamog in their deck. Philia, you got it. No, it's just a Bale Merc deck. Okay. I remember once upon a time I actually played Emperor Bones in the Bale Merc deck. A long time ago, like when we were first working on the lists. We're going to definitely take Bale Merc here, though, because they can flicker it really easy with Philia. Right, what we got here? Renegade Rallier? I like that. I like that idea. We could also grab Ocelot Pride, but I really love the idea of grab Renegade Rallier, bring back our Peddler right away, and probably take their swords. Rallier. This is what I love about Rallier in this deck, is whatever you sacrifice to get the Rallier, you just bring it right back. And then we take their removal spell. At minimum, next turn, we're going to have a 4/4 Vigilance that they won't be able to answer, and we're going to get to keep going off with our Birthing Ritual. We will have 7 permanents currently, so this will be 8, 9, 10. We'll get on our end step. My opponent is going to be doing a little bit of card draw. Ketchmos does see itself get exiled when it gets flickered by Philia. That is a fun fact right there. I think I'm going to go ahead and block here because Philia represents a lot of value over time for my opponent, even though Renegade Rallier is also very valuable for me. I think we need to prevent them from getting back into the game by any means possible. Alright, this is interesting. I think we can go ahead and start off with the Merc. Wonder what I would want to buy back. What mana would I want to leave up? Leaving up green, white. Is there a way for me to leave up double white in case I hit another white spell? Yes, there is. So let me go ahead and cast my Merc. We hit Dollmaker. That's really good. We can't get the Dollmaker and the Pride into play this turn, and I want to get Pride down because we're going to have City's Blessing on our end step. It's literally better than doing Dollmaker to flicker Balemerc. Alright, when you're playing this deck, always stack your triggers like this. Pride trigger goes last if you have the City's Blessing. We're about to have it when we make one more permanent. If you don't have City's Blessing, you put the Pride trigger first, so that you have a little 0-drop to sack your ritual. But here, we're trying to copy things. So we really want to hit a Dollmaker, which we just did. And then what we want to do is choose what we want to copy. You can copy anything. We can get 2 Balemercs. We can get 2 Birthing Rituals. I think 2 Balemercs would actually end the game really well. In fact, I'm just going to get rid of our Guide of Souls here, because I think we're going to kill my opponent with combat damage very soon. And then we could just buy back Guide of Souls anyway, so like, who cares? There we go, we get an extra Balemerc. So our board state goes a little crazy, and my opponent scoops it up. Yeah, like I said, you just smother any fair deck. It's insane. Against this particular deck, we just want the Static Prison. Probably do still want Bowmasters. We can definitely cut Witch Enchanter when we're going to be on the draw. It's just a question of what's our last cut in the deck, right? Emperor Bone seeing it kind of scares me. Though it's probably just to trigger Ketchmos, right? It's just a free trigger every turn, like how people play Relic of Progenitus in the deck. So I guess I shouldn't be afraid of the graveyard too much. I'm thinking of like cutting Deathrite Shaman for another Static Prison. Just because Static Prison is a really like clean way to answer their Ketchmos goofball kind of cards. And they're also trying to flicker Balemerc. Prison is a great way to answer the Balemerc token because you don't even need to pay for the energy. You just let the prison die and they don't get the token back because, you know, it's a token. This seems pretty good. If they were doing graveyard shenanigans, I'd bring in the Tormod's Crypt, but they're not. All right, unfortunately, this is an unkeepable 7 here, so we're going to go ahead and send it back. This has Guide Pride in it. Guide Pride good. Guide Pride very good, right? And the Deathrite Shaman that we wanted to sideboard out, and the Static Prison we wanted to sideboard in. You know, what's really funny is I'm going to keep the card that we sideboarded out as opposed to the one that we sideboarded in. Because I love being able to lead with a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman. The card's at its best on turn 1, right? Static Prison, we want it leader. We want to draw it in like 3 turns once my opponent's done something silly. Go ahead, grief me, man. I got a bunch of 1-drops in my hand. This is like an energy hand where your opponent goes to grief you and then it's just like 4 copies of the same card. What do they pick? It doesn't matter. They still just die to the 1-drops. Alright, my opponent has decided to take Deathrite Shaman after a little bit of deliberation. We drew a Chrome Mox, which is unfortunately a bad draw, in my opinion. We don't need it right now. I really just want to play out my 1-drops and play like an energy-style aggro start to this game. Hey, too late here. Alright, and hopefully we just get the aggro win here. We would need to draw something like a Ritual or a Renegade Rallier to really pull us over the top. If we wanted to do something else. They get grief back so they can go ahead and grief my Ocelot Pride. It's costing them a lot of card advantage to do this. But they do get to disrupt me here. We're at the very least still going to have double guide, so it's good. I actually want to play Peddler here. I want to make sure that they don't have like a way to flicker this Balemerc. because that's how they get back into the game. This is a critical turn here. If my opponent can do something on their next turn, they're in the game. If they can't, I probably snowball. Yeah, Dollmaker, get out of here, buddy. That was a big decision. I know a lot of people would just slam their Guided Souls there, but you gotta play around your opponent being able to get back into the game. Now they have no blockers. Yeah, they got nothing. They're all in on nothing, baby, as we say. And now we just get on the dorky beatdown. We could go for their Billmerk with Static Prison, but I don't see the reason to do that right away. I mean, one reason is to make 2 more energy so we could fly something, but I don't think that's worth paying for long term. Could Static Prison this Ketchermos, but they're so far from being able to turn it on. They're only at 3 out of 7. Oh, Dollmaker, that's a good one. I do love some doll making. So what do we want to do then? I'm trying to think of what I want to doll make, right? Do we want to copy up a Guide of Souls? I don't want to copy the Peddler because I want to attack for 4 Vigilance this turn, and I want to get my Peddler snowballing. I'm actually going to flicker Guide of Souls. Even though it seems like a bit of a weird decision. Oh, I should have attacked with that guy. My bad. Bit of a misclick for me when I'm going fast, but shouldn't matter in the end. We have our Vigilant Flyer here. If my opponent tries to exile something, they will be losing life. They do exile something there. They will lose 1 more life. I think I'm going to exile the Skyclave Apparition back, get some energy, and just try to fly something for the win. Paying life? Buddy old pal. Be careful. I mean, I'm sure they have a Swords to Plowshares or something like that to help out. Ooh, Solitude. That's a cool one. But I would like the extra energy from this prison. Please and thank you. Ah, Ephemerate. Dang. Could I have played around that, guys? Well, I get my energy here no matter what. My opponent loses a life, and guess what? I get to attack them. Wait, do you not lose a life? Oh, right, it's not during their turn for Ketchermos. Classic. If I trade with the Skyclave Apparition here, which my opponent has to... Oh, no, wait. Ah, crap, I punted. I forgot this guy could block. My bad. Alright, we lose this game, unfortunately. My bad. I forgot Ketchermos could block now. I was like, oh, they have to block with Skyclave Apparition. They'll trade and give me a 1-1 back. That's okay. We can go to next game. I wonder if I could have better played around that Ephemerate there, because that was certainly my lose condition. I definitely had the game locked up. Because I definitely had the opportunity for aggressive lines with Static Prisons, using it to, like, fly something. I'll watch it back, maybe think about it. Okay, we probably want our extra land back on the play. These Sith Lord Shamans are also really good on the play. Maybe we'll just play the 1 Static Prison here and run it back like this. All right, we're gonna be on the play here. We got Guide Pride. We also have turn 1 Ritual. Great hand. Let's keep it. I think we'll do turn 1 Guide Pride and then turn 2 Ritual. Like, I'm very happy to put Solitude under Chrome Mox here. Gimme, gimme. Aggro start. So even if my opponent has a Swords here, we're gonna have 2 creatures in play and a Birthing Ritual no matter what. So we're gonna get going here. My opponent has nothing on turn 1. That's not good for them. They needed to have something. Renegade Rallier is also really sweet for a later turn. Go ahead and attack in, gain some life. Okay, so we don't have Blessing here. Well, the order doesn't matter because we have like a 1/1 token to sack regardless, but still, since we don't have Blessing, we're gonna make the token first. Alright, Renegade Rallier. Renegade Rallier would have nothing to buy back. Dollmaker, it's a little preemptive for that. None of these cards are actually great because we didn't get Blessing yet. Doll making something is just not impactful right now, actually. So what do I do here? Do we say no? Do we get nothing? I think I'd rather have my Guide and Pride than the Doll Maker, right? Yeah. We just say no. No, thank you. Alright, ooh. No black mana. Hard knock life over here. I'm gonna go ahead and attack here. My opponent could have Ophelia, actually, so maybe we play around that. Seems pretty wise to play around Ophelia. So let's just go ahead and fly this one token. My opponent's got to have something here. You don't keep a hand with 0 1-drop, 0 2-drop, 0 interaction on the draw. All right, we're very close to blessing. Yeah, we're at 9 out of 10, so we're going to put that second. All right, what we got here? Another Renegade Rallier is an option. Another Guide of Souls is an option. We grab a Witch Enchanter as well, but that doesn't do anything, so I think we want the other Guide of Souls, sacrificing our little token here. Yeah, getting another Rallier doesn't do anything. Our graveyard is like frustratingly empty. We didn't have any fetch lands as a part of our opening hand. Otherwise, these Ralliers would have been much better. Yep, and then we just get 2 tokens and, you know, a buttload of energy. So our opponent needs a card like Wrath of the Skies to properly get back into the game, and they would also need to cast it on X equals 2 to get rid of Birthing Ritual. X equals 1 would still kind of suck for us, because they would clear our Chrome Mox. But we're in a great position no matter what card they have. I can't imagine what card they have. Maybe Temporary Lockdown would be a bit better. They can Philia Flicker that guy. Oh, that's true. So I played around Philia in one way by not letting it block, but I did play around it in another way by letting it flicker. The question is, do we want to block here? I think the answer is yeah, we do. We already have our City's Blessing, so we don't need these junky tokens. And if they want to use a removal spell on a token, be my guest. I think they're happy for that trade, though, right? Because they traded Philia for 5 power and toughness worth of tokens, while they're really behind on board state. Yeah, exile my Chrome Mox. You know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to actually imprint this Peddler, because I don't have black mana. I can't cast it anyway. So this is really good if we draw another black spell. We drew another Chrome Mox. Oh well. Let's go to combat here. We're going to fly our Ocelot Pride and the Rallier, actually. Actually, no, let's fly the Guide of Souls. I don't like putting the flying counters on cards like Rallier, because Rallier is a card that we want to sacrifice to Birthing Ritual. Same with the Dollmaker. We want to sacrifice them, turn them into better creatures, put it in the graveyard, buy it back. That kind of deal. Okay. Opponent, are you surveilling here, or do you have a Swords? Swords would be a little unfortunate. Oh, we have Ephemerate. Oh, they're going to hit my Pride here and shrink it. Probably. Yeah. It's an interesting play. I mean, they gave me a token. I don't know if that's really going to work out for them long term, guys. What do you think? What do we think? Is this going to work out long term? Nothing in the graveyard still, so I'm just going to grab this Dollmaker here. Or we could just grab another Pride. Renegade Rallier, grab a Dollmaker. Dollmaker copies Guide of Souls. Ocelot Pride copies Guide of Souls. Resolve. Yeah, I don't know if this is what my opponent really wanted. And now they don't win because of Wrath of the Skies if they have that card in their hand, because I can give everything indestructible. That's a bit unfortunate for them. They can go ahead and, like, Stone Rain my Chrome Mox again, I guess. But, like, what's that really going to do? Alright, yeah, they could just make everything a token. Everything's a token now. Sure. Alright, I have 45 life. What are you going to do, opponent? Yeah, figures. Alright, game 3. This hand has a lot of good cards in it, but I'm not necessarily inclined to keep a 1-lander on 7 if I can help it, so we're going to send it back. This hand is a little lighter in terms of threats, but we're going to go ahead and keep it. We can put back... Probably put back the Surveil land, right? Because we could just fetch it up whenever we want. And I just might lead on Witch Enchanter here because I'm okay with a mono white source on my first turn. My opponent is on Show and Tell. Alright, so this deck does struggle a bit with combo. So we'll see how it goes. The good news is I have this Witch Enchanter. In fact, I auto-put it there a little bit. I should have held this in hand because it's a great card to put into play off of Show and Tell. Of course, I have another one, but can't hurt to have an extra one in my hand. Certainly can't hurt. Alright, opponent thought seasoning. Yeah, see, couldn't hurt. That's a misplay right there. I wasn't paying enough attention. Definitely should have held this and just like fetched a normal land instead, but whatever. Live and you learn. We get to attack with our Ocelot Pride here. We're just going to go ahead and surveil here. Hopefully set up a good draw. At the minimum, we'll be able to Renegade Rallier next turn. The dream would be... Oh, never mind. I was about to say the dream would be putting like a 2-drop in the graveyard to buy back with Rallier, but nope, not anymore. We want to put our 2-drop on top of the deck now. Portico? What we got? Deathrite Shaman. Is that good enough? Is that above or below average? I think it's pretty below average. It's not very impactful in the current board state. It's good if the game goes long, but the game is not going to go long. The game could end next turn. Souls. That's a much better 1-drop. And we'll go ahead and fetch up black mana here. And what's cool is we do have this Solitude to put into play off of Show and Tell. Of course, it doesn't kill an Omniscience, but it would kill something like an Atraxa if their plan is to Show and Tell Atraxa. I would love to just draw another white card so that I can properly evoke Solitude. Also, since I have another fetch to crack for Revolt, I'm just going to go ahead and do deck thinning here. Okay, Dedicated Dollmaker. That's cool. Oh, okay, so we can copy up our Ocelot Prides. That's awesome. Go to combat, attack. Play the Dollmaker. Copy me up. So we're going to have lethal next turn, which is awesome. And even if they have a board wipe on top, we can make all our tokens indestructible. However, if they did indeed Demonic Tutor for their combo kill, they win. I'm sure they Demonic Tutored for their combo, but they have exactly 2 lands, and they were hoping to lucky draw the 3rd. So we got lucky there, we got lucky. Against combo gaming, we want the Archons of Emeria, we want the Deafening Silences. White Orchid Phantom, and not relevant against Show and Tell. We could play it. We could try to blow up their mana if they're playing a greedy mana base. They're probably not. I'm not going to put them on it at least. As for cards that can come out against Show and Tell, we can definitely go down on Solitudes, and often I cut my Guide of Souls in matchups like this. We can go down to just 1 copy that we can find off of Birthing Ritual for fun. Do want all 4 of the Prides though, because that is a very abusable card. And I think this is going to be a good state of the deck for game 2 against Show and Tell. Alright, game 2 versus Omnitel. We have Deafening Silence, we have a Juggernaut Peddler. Honestly, a man can't ask for much more. Ah. He could ask for his opponent not to have late line. I will concede that. Alright, so this Peddler is just like a blank piece of cardboard. The unfortunate part about this Peddler is that when I play it, it's going to target me, and then my opponent's going to get some free hand info. That's not great. Abrupt Decay, that's another annoying one. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to hold this Silence and put it into play off of Show and Tell. We're just going to Surveil this turn. Surveil this turn, slam the Ritual next turn. Instead of slamming Ritual, I could maybe argue to get Bowmasters in play. Yeah, that's probably better, actually, right? Oh, another Deafening Silence on top? Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't think my opponent could beat 2 of those. I'm just going to flash in Bowmasters this turn, though. Flash in Bowmasters next turn, we'll do Renegade Rallier. Show and Tell. You got it, buddy. How about Deafening Silence? If they have an Atraxa to follow up, that's a bit unfortunate. Flash in Bowmasters here. Alright, cool. Now, do we want to play Second Silence plus Ritual, or do we want to play Rallier? Well, we can do Rallier and Second Silence, right? So that seems pretty good to me. Got the basic here. Rallier. Rallier buys back my fetch. Then we can play Silence. Just keep in mind, Silence only attacks our non-creature spells. So we're encouraged to play our creatures. Right, opponent digs. Makes sense. They should be digging for something like an Atraxa here. How many Solitudes did I keep in my deck to deal with that Atraxa? 2. Okay. Well, we gotta find him. Oh, that's a good one from them. All right, so they're probably back in this game. Yeah, they probably win here, but I'll at least let them show me something like Mastermind's Acquisition. All right, I think Atraxa hitting multiple tutors and dig through times is enough to scoop it up to. I don't think we're going to be able to beat that. So game 3, we're going to be on the play. We can ask, do we want more Solitudes to deal with something like Atraxa? Do we want Static Prisons to deal with that? Static Prison is like not a bad idea. Static Prison is a card. Static Prison is a nice card that can deal with like Omniscience off of Show and Tell. It can also just deal with the tracks in play. It can clear that ley line. We can play the 1 copy. That seems fine to me. All right, we're gonna be on the play. There's a Deafening Silence. There's a Peddler. There's a Solitude. It's all the cards we wanted last game. Hopefully my opponent doesn't open on double ley line or something silly like that, and I get to take a look at their hand. They open on single ley line. All right, that's fine. I think we're just gonna go ahead and Surveil on turn 1. All right, Thoughtseize me, you got it. There's an argument against holding on to Deafening Silence in situations like this, but usually Show and Tell does not keep in Thoughtseizes against creature decks. I really didn't think too much about it. Even though they did it to me last game, right? Go ahead and call me an idiot. All right, there's a doll maker. We can certainly make some dolls. We can also just play Juggernaut as a 2/2 Vigilance. What do we want to do here, guys? I think we can hold Dollmaker because it's got a lot of potential for later. I think we could just go ahead and play our Juggernaut Peddler as a 2/2. We could flicker it with Dollmaker always if we do clear their ley line. I'd love to draw something like an Archon of Emeria or a Birthing Ritual. Attack for 2 here. And I think we're going to be on the Grizzly Bear beatdown here. I'm going to make their ley line into a token just in case I draw something like Static Prison. I don't have to worry about paying energy for that. And we still have Solitude plus Pitch card here in case an Atraxa shows up, and we have our opponent on a 3-turn clock. I am going to hold Dollmaker though, because it is a white pitch card for my Solitude. And it doesn't change the clock, right? Yep, my bad. Accidentally stopped recording. All we missed was a combat step, so don't worry about it. Let's go ahead and put an extra land into play. Show and Tell here. You got it. I'm going to let them put whatever it is into play. I don't care. Decline. I really just need to Solitude and Atraxa here. Alright, there's the Atraxa. Unfortunately, this means my opponent just wins. Yeah, Masterminds. Alright, they got me. So like we said in the deck tech, this deck is going to struggle a lot against combo decks. Even though we had a lot of our sideboard dedicated to it, our opponent does get to have their way with us. And we'll let them do the honors here. I'll Shift Enter to not waste their time. But yeah, this deck absolutely smothers any fair deck like we saw. The other 2 decks really didn't have a chance against us, but once we got up against Show and Tell Gaming, Necropotence Gaming, Belcher, any of those sorts of decks, we can really struggle to interact with them properly because, as you can see, Leyline Sanctity is a very common card in the format right now because a lot of people are playing Belcher. So discard is not necessarily good. Just playing black in your deck and playing Juggernaut Peddler doesn't automatically give you wins against these decks. It definitely helps your percentages, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not enough to rely on, and you saw, in all of our sideboard games, we had a Deafening Silence, in one of them we had 2, and our opponent was still able to wiggle around out of it. Maybe I could have played a little bit better with my sequencing, but goes to show this deck does have a bit of polarized matchups. But if you're seeing mostly fair stuff on ladder, I do highly recommend this deck. And if you think it's fun, I also recommend it just because it's very fun. Greenwire got rank 1 with it, so you could definitely get Mythic with it if you want to try this deck out yourself.